Welcome to What's Math. Please subscribe to my channel, like and share my videos. This video will focus on rational expressions with an emphasis on complex fractions. Step 1. Simplify the top over one denominator. Step 2. Simplify the bottom over one denominator. Step 3. You want to keep the first fraction, change the division to multiplication, and flip the second fraction. In other words, the reciprocal. Step 4. Use the step for multiplying rational expressions. If you need further clarification, please see my videos for multiplying rational expressions. Example. Simplify 6 minus 1 over x all over 6 plus 1 over x. Let's remind ourselves of the steps. Let's concentrate on the top. If you notice it has started with a 6, we need that to be written as a fraction. Any integer or variable written as a fraction is always over 1. So therefore, we're going to have 6 over 1 minus 1 over x. Because both of them are prime in the bottom, the denominators, the LCD will always be the d times the d. 1 times x will be x. Now, to find out what goes in the numerator, we're going to something looks like a cross multiplication, right? Just make sure that the numerator that comes first goes first, and the one that comes second goes second. So first I should have 6 times x, which is 6x. And since it's a subtraction, we're going to be minus 1 times 1, which is 1. Now let's concentrate on the bottom. The bottom started off with a 6. We need to write it as a fraction. So therefore, it's going to be 6 over 1 plus 1 over x. We're going to find the LCD, which is just going to be the d times the d once again, because both of them are prime. So it's going to be 1 times x, which is x. We're going to do something almost like a cross multiplication. Just make sure that the 6, which is in the first expression, comes first. So therefore, it's going to be 6 times x is going to be 6x, and its addition, so it's going to be plus 1 times 1 is 1. We're going to set up the problem, which is going to be 6x minus 1 over x divided by 6x plus 1 over x. First, we want to keep the first fraction exactly the same. And we're going to change that division to multiplication, and we're going to flip the second fraction, which is the reciprocal. So if you notice, the x now ends up in the top. Now we need to use a rule for multiplying rational expressions. In order for us to cancel out terms, it needs to be this exact factor in the top as well as in the bottom. And it should be 1 to 1. It doesn't matter in which expression. And if I take a good look, you notice that there is a x in the denominator in the first expression, and there's an x in the numerator in the second expression, so therefore they cancel each other. Now I'm left with 6x minus 1 over 6x plus 1, and that would be your final answer. Example. Simplify 2 plus 1 over 3x all over 5 plus 1 over 3x. We need to make sure that that 2 in the top is written as a fraction. Now it's going to be 2 over 1 plus 1 over 3x. Even though you can factor 3 times x, 3 is a prime number, so therefore it doesn't help us in this situation. So my LCD is just going to be the d times the d. So 1 times 3x is going to be 3x. We're going to set up something like a cross multiplication. I want to make sure that the first numerator dictates what comes first, and our second numerator dictates what comes second. And we're adding, so there should be an addition sign between both terms. 2 times 3x is 6x, plus 1 times 1 is 1. Now let's focus on the bottom. we need to write a 5 as a fraction. So it's going to be 5 over 1 plus 1 over 3x. In this situation, the LCD once again would be 1 times 3x. So therefore, it's going to be 3x. We're going to set up something like a cross multiplication, making sure that my first numerator dictates what comes first. My second numerator dictates what comes second. 5 times 3x is 15x, plus 1 times 1 is 1. Remember, the top was being divided by the bottom, so we need to put a division sign between them. Now that we have it set up as a division problem, we can go ahead and keep the first fraction. We can change the division to multiplication and flip the second fraction. If you notice, the 3x is now in the top. Now we need to use the rules for multiplying rational expression. And remember, as long as there's a factor or a term in the bottom that is also in the numerator, they cancel each other. It doesn't matter in which expression. And if I take a good look, there's a 3x in the first denominator, and there's a 3x in the second numerator. So they cancel. Now I'm left with 6x plus 1 over 15x plus 1. And that's your final answer. Now let's go ahead and check for understanding. Simplify 7 over 2x minus 9 all over 5 over 2x minus 4. Solution. Simplify 7 over 2x minus 9 all over 5 over 2x minus 4. Let's remind ourselves of the steps. Let's focus on the top. That 9 needs to be written as a fraction, and an integer as a fraction is just going to be itself over 1. So you should have 7 over 2x minus 9 over 1. Even though 2x can be factored, it doesn't help us in this situation. So therefore, my LCD would be the d times the d. So 2x times 1 is 2x. You set up something as if it's a cross multiplication. The first numerator dictates what comes first. The second numerator dictates what comes second. And we are subtracting. So therefore, it's going to be 7 times 1 is 7 minus 9 times 2x is 18x. Let's focus on the bottom. That 4 needs to be written as a fraction. So now I'm going to have 5 over 2x minus 4 over 1. And the LCD in this situation is just like the first one, the top. So therefore, it's still going to be 2x because it's going to be 2x times 1, which is 2x. Set up something like a cross multiplication, making sure that the first numerator dictates what comes first, the second numerator dictates what comes second, and we are subtracting. So it's going to be 5 times 1 minus 4 times 2x is 8x. Remember, it was the top divided by the bottom, so we need to put a division sign between them that allows me to keep the first fraction, change the division to multiplication, and flip the second fraction. As you can see, the 2x is now in the top. Now we need to use the rules for multiplying rational expression. Remember, the factors need to be in the top as well as in the bottom. So it needs to be like terms in the numerator as well in the denominator. And as I can see, there's 2x in the denominator of the first fraction, which would cancel the 2x in the second fraction in the numerator. So now I'm left with 7 minus 18x over 5 minus 8x. And that's the final answer. Please subscribe to my channel. Click that little notification bell for further notification of new videos. Like and share my videos. If you like what you saw in the video, feel free to buy me a cup of coffee. It's not mandatory, but thank you in advance.